I hope you've been doing really well with figuring out your digital learning packet that you've had the past few days. Today, I'm going to start teaching my first official digital lesson. So you guys will just watch this and I'll try to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. And then you'll be able to do your ticket out following this lesson. But before I get started, I wanted to show you my assistants that I have with me today. So here are my two assistant teachers. There's Roy and Butters, and they are here to help answer any questions you guys may have. So how this is going to work, I'm going to be going back and forth with sharing my computer screen with you, as well as actually showing you some pictures and images from books. So let's go ahead and get started. So today we are going to be talking about text structures. And a text structure, hold on just a second. Here we go. All right, so here we go. Here you see text structures. So the structure of our stories. So I want you to think about something for just a second. You should know what these four things are. So we have a paragraph, a chapter, a stanza, and a scene. So real quick, I'll give you maybe 15 seconds. I want you to talk to whoever is in the room with you. I want you to have a turn and talk with whoever's in the room with you. It can be your mom, your dad, your aunt, your grandma, your dog, your cat, whoever is in the room with you. Or if you're in the room by yourself, you can just have a conversation by yourself. I do that all the time. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about and talk to whoever's in the room with you about what these four things are: a paragraph, a chapter, a stanza, and a scene. Go. All right, 3, 2, 1, talking is done. All right, so now that you've had a chance to kind of talk about what you think these things are, all of these things fall into one category. So each of these terms are ways that our stories, poems, and plays are set up. They are important to the structure of the text. So the most important word that you see in that little paragraph is the word structure. And a structure is how something is organized and set up. So all four of those things that you just saw on the previous screen, a paragraph, a stanza, a chapter, and a scene, all of those are examples of text structures. So here are the true definitions of these different structures. So the first one we have is a paragraph, and it's a collection of sentences about the same idea. So sorry, Joe's biting my computer. I have a book right here called, oops, let me see if I can, okay. I have this book right here called The Great Kapok Tree. And it's a very well-known story. It's a story you probably already have heard before, but it has paragraphs in it. So on each page, it gives us examples of paragraphs. All of these sentences go together and create one idea. So here's an example of one from this page right here. A boa constrictor lived in the kapok tree. He slithered down its trunk to where the man was sleeping. He looked at the gash the axe had made in the tree. Then the huge snake slid very close to the man and hissed in his ear. Señor, this tree is a tree of miracles. It is my home, where generations of my ancestors have lived. Do not chop it down. So this paragraph all revolves around the same idea of the boa constrictor, the snake, not wanting the tree to get cut down in the rainforest. So that's a paragraph. So now let's move on to our next one. And our next one is a stanza. And we have talked about stanzas before when we talked about poetry and figurative language. And so a stanza is kind of like a paragraph within a poem. So it's when you have the groups of lines that are grouped together in a poem. That's what a stanza is. So I'll share another book with you. So I have this book right here. It's called Where the Sidewalk Ends. And this book has lots of different poems by our pal Shel Silverstein. Hey, Joe. So let's look and see if we can find some stanzas in here. Oh, here's a poem that we all already know really well. Ickle me, pickle me, tickle me too. Went for a ride in a flying shoe. Hooray, what fun, it's time we flew, said Ickle me, pickle me, tickle me too. So you can see that this poem is broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4 different sections. So each of those sections is called a stanza. And a stanza is a group of lines that work together in a poem, kind of like a paragraph within a poem. All right, so that's a stanza. So now let's go back. Now we've got a chapter. So I know a lot of you love to read chapter books, which is a great thing. I just have to let you see this cat right now. He's going crazy, wanting to make sure that he's on camera. There he is. Okay, so now that we've had that little breath of fresh air, let's get back to what a chapter is. So a chapter is a division of a plot in a story. So if you're reading a longer book, it's not all going to be just in one big long story. They're going to break it into chapters. So my example of that is a book that we're actually going to be reading later on this year. Hopefully we'll get to go back to school and read it all together, but if not, we'll do it this way. But let's just keep our fingers crossed that we can all be back together by then. So the book that I have here is called Because of Winn-Dixie. I know, you're shocked, right? Because it's about a dog. However, this book is one of my absolute all-time favorites. And it's broken up into chapters. So you can see here, get it? Maybe it'll focus. So you can see right here, it says chapter 1. And then each chapter in this book is maybe 5 or 6 pages. And then it moves into chapter 2. And so on and so forth. And it's just a good way to kind of break the story apart into pieces to make it a little bit easier for the reader to understand. And now the final structure that we talked about is a scene. And a scene is a moment or a section of a play. Now, I am a very dramatic person. We know that. I love plays. That's one of my all-time goals, is to be a part of a play. And if I were a part of a play, I would have to memorize a lot of different scenes and have to know what my lines were and where I was supposed to go on stage. So I'll show you real quick what that would look like really quickly. So I'm going to switch my screen from a PowerPoint. I don't have an actual book at my house that has a scene, an example of a scene in it. So I'm going to show you a digital version. So this would be a little Christmas play about elves. And so you can see that this scene is all about elves in the North Pole. So it'll tell you who the characters are that are in that scene, and it'll tell you the setting of the scene, where the scene is taking place. So then it actually tells you the lines or what each character is going to say. So this has, let's see, 7, 8 elves, a narrator, and Santa. And it just talks about what they're doing, how they're doing it. Okay, so kind of to wrap it all up, a structure is how something is organized. Today we talked about 4 different text structures: a paragraph, a stanza, a chapter, and a scene. So after this video is over, what I want you to do is I want you to go back to the March 26th folder in reading where you found this video, and I want you to complete the ticket out. Once you complete the ticket out, you'll be good to go for reading for today. Bye, and I'll see you tomorrow.